Not gonna lie, I really liked that final part of the episode when Meliodas was displaying his strength against the Ten Commandments. And it really just puts in perspective how strong Meliodas' original power was until it was taken away from him. And when you see how he kind of like manhandles Galan like it was kind of nothing in that moment, it just truly shows that Meliodas was OP in the past. And he definitely has, a lot of secrets that he's clearly hiding. I mean, he doesn't even want to reveal certain things to King in this episode. So, just the final segment, it's pretty hype-inducing, and if you're a Meliodas fan, or if you've been waiting to see what type of level Meliodas is at once he got his power back, here you go. This is what this episode tries to show you, how far Meliodas could potentially go. So, King and Meliodas, they have a little bit of a dispute/fight in this episode, and the reason for it is because King, he doesn't really understand whose side that Meliodas is on. He doesn't know if he's on their side, the Seven Deadly Sins' side. He doesn't know if he's in league with the Ten Commandments, helping them out. He has no idea whatsoever, and so he is very suspicious. He's wondering, whose side is he really on? What is Meliodas really trying to fight for right now? And he wants to know his end game. And Meliodas does say, like, at this time, he can't really say anything. It's not the proper time to say anything. And also he says, even if he was, King wouldn't believe him at all. And so there's obviously some secrets there. Meliodas knows things that he's just not sharing, and one of these days, most likely, that's going to be relatively important. But for now, though, King is going to be watching Meliodas. He wants to make sure that this man is not working with the demons. He wants to make sure that this man isn't dangerous to everyone around him, because he just seems to be a part of the demon clan. And everything we know that's been established throughout Taizai is that the demon clan, they're the villains of the story. They are the main antagonists, the villains that need to be taken down. And so it makes a lot of sense why King would think Meliodas is an enemy, because he is a part of the demon clan. That's even officially confirmed in this episode when Meliodas goes out of his way and he actually calls Zeldris his brother. So yeah, the FYI, it is officially confirmed now in anime-wise that Meliodas and Zeldris are brothers, they're related, and this does confirm his connection with the Ten Commandments. Now, apparently from the Ten Commandments' reaction in this episode towards the end, they called Meliodas a traitor. He betrayed them and all that. They're really upset, and you can see how they just didn't like, Meliodas' presence in the first place, just being there. So, yeah, overall final segment of the episode, it's pretty hype because there's going to be some great things going to be happening very soon. But okay, so let's get into the sad stuff. Bon and Zhivago. So, Zhivago, he dies. Now, I'm sad to see the man die, but at the same time, the way he went out was actually pleasing in a way. Because the man managed to kind of find redemption before he passed on to the afterlife. He talks to Bon. As we know, we found out a little bit more about Bon in, the last episode. We got to see a little bit more of his upbringing, what led him to be a thief and all of that. And this episode concludes that. Bon, he had a sister that he lost at a very early age. He also was told by Zhivago where the Fountain of Youth was, and that is why Bon eventually went out of his way to find the Fountain of Youth. I mean, all these little things that, kind of make Bon as a character that has led him to be where he's at right now in the story is all thanks to Zhivago. The reason why Bon acts like he does is because of Zhivago. And as I talked about in my last episode review, Zhivago, he thought he let both sons die. He constantly blamed himself, felt like he was a failure, and finally getting to see Bon for the first time in a long time, thinking, he was dead, and now realizing he's alive, it allowed the man to somewhat redeem himself before he passed on. It's a very sad moment, but at the same time, like I said, it's a happy end for the man, because even though Bon just lost a father after he just quickly met him again, the father is able to move on and, rest in peace now. He no longer needs to be burdened by what happened in the past. He can move on and say, like, my son has forgiven me. I can, move on and see my other son that died. So, the death, I feel like the impact of it is going to change Bon. Like, I feel like Bon as a person, he's going to realize more about his priorities and what he needs to strive to fight for. And he also realizes that in the end, sometimes you might not be able to bring people back, or sometimes death might be even better than trying to bring them back. And that seems to be one of the big things he might be learning very soon. Now, speaking of death and all that and bringing people back, there is a quick little scene in this episode to where you see someone that was recently buried they are starting to come out of the ground. Now, it's not actually dived into. It's just a quick little scene. There's no, like, little bit of a clarification what was really happening, but you can see that someone died and their hand popped up out of the grave, which is like, zombies? What's going on there? So, that's definitely going to be something very important happening. We'll see where that's going to go, but I just wanted to point out that, clearly something right there is going to have something to do with Bond, since Bond's entire objective is to resurrect his girlfriend. He wants to get back Elaine. He wants to be able to have her live again. That's been his objective ever since, he lost her. So, I mean, when you look at it like that, that might have something to do with Bond, something to do with his plot. So, let's talk about Jericho. So, Jericho, her love interest, like her love towards Bond, Bond's position or situation with it was finally clarified. Bond doesn't view Jericho as a love interest. He doesn't look at her romantically at all. He actually shot her down and called her a little sister. That's what he called her. So she got sister-zoned. And on top of that, he basically is still in love with this dead girl. And you see Jericho get really pouty, upset and all of that, which is very cute, by the way. I've always been a big Jericho fan. I've always loved her a lot. I'm a little bit sad that this scene happened because it would have been some very, interesting development for Bond if maybe he could have potentially have given up on Elaine and decided, turn his attention to Jericho. That would have been a really great scene right there, him realizing he needs to love the things that he has instead of going after things that is already gone. Maybe that could be a big message there. So who knows, maybe Bond might go down that path. I just want to point out that, Jericho being there getting sister zoned is kind of saddening because, like I said, I loved her. And, she's being very, very, I guess, straightforward with her love towards Bond. Wanting Bond to love her, she loves Bond and all that. It's just like, man, she's being straightforward. I feel like, in a lot of ways, it's even more straightforward than how the manga was done. And I like that in a way because, just seeing, pouty Jericho, it just brings a smile to my face. Let's talk about King's power, okay? Disaster. We get a little bit of details on King's original ability, Disaster. This ability allows him to amplify things and grow things at a large rate. For instance, let's say you have like a small little cut, okay, a little gash and all that. King, he can actually manipulate that cut and amplify it to a point to where it's even worse than normal. And so you can see how he made like a wound on Meliodas even worse than it already was, and it actually started to damage him. This is a very dangerous ability because what was clarified from Merlin in this episode, like if there is a small tumor, he can make that tumor a lot larger and it could, grow and, obviously you would die. So King has a pretty OP ability. If he uses it right in certain situations, he could probably take down some really strong opponents. So that was nice to see that, and I wonder how you anime onlys feel about that. Let me know your thoughts. How do you feel about King's ability Disaster? Did you like that description? Did you not like it? Be honest in the comments below. Okay, so last thing to really talk about, I guess, let's talk about Meliodas and his power and all that. What is next for him? So with Meliodas gaining back his power, the big question is this power he has, is it really for the side of good? Because normally when you see the main protag and all that have power, usually there's a shining light, it recognizes them as a hero. Like, it's the whole point of them being showcased as a hero. And when you see Meliodas' power just pop out and all that out of the sill, and it covers the sky in darkness, you're like, that's the complete opposite of what you would think a hero would be, or a protag would have. And so when you see that darkness, come around him, you're like, is he a good guy? It really leaves you on the edge of questioning, like, is he going to do something heinous or not? And I mean, in a way, you could kind of assume that he's not, because he did declare war on the Ten Commandments. He's like, you guys better stay away from my friends, you better not attack, this is basically me just giving you guys a greeting. Let's stop right here, don't do anything else, and then he left. So, when you look at it like that, it does make you wonder, if Meliodas, if he really is on anybody's side, like, whose side is he really on? Food for thought. But with that, I think I want to end this video here. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How'd you feel about this week's episode of Taizai? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? How do you feel about the backstory of Bond? How do you feel about Zhivago's death? How do you feel about, the little, zombie scene? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, be safe. Chibi out.